in the end game of MLB The Show 22, which means we've got the end game tier list. Today, we're gonna go through my updated tier list for the end game, since we are at the final big drop of content, where we'll just start to add the new cards that we get over the span of next month or two, however long, because there aren't gonna be any more drastic changes in the pacing of content anymore. And then we're also gonna add our new content we got today, the milestone program, which brought some really good hitters and pitchers, along with 99 Mickey Mantle. Let's hop on into it. I'm being a little bit more nitpicky. I'm taking cards that I think are actually viable in the end game and ranking them. If there's a player with a little bit lower on the overall at this point in the game, I don't have them on the list. It's not that they're bad, it's that there are other more attractive options for the end game. But I think you kind of need a certain level of attributes to live in this current point in the game. Always remember to use who you do best with. I am ranking these cards for like a Hall of Fame World Series push, but at the end of the day, sometimes attributes might not be the answer for you. You just might have a player that you do well with no matter what. A lot of this game comes down to preference, so if you don't agree with my list, or if there are players you personally like more, that's absolutely okay in the beauty of this game. Hopping on into the tier list, first we have our catchers. And as you see, I have Alejandro Kirk as that bottom level, where you can definitely use him in the end game. He's got enough attributes to live in his current point, but he's not going to be a top option. I know not many people loved his swing and such, but you see, I really think if you're looking for good recommendations for catcher, I would look in the S and S plus tier, mainly at each position. But I think they're going to be the best of the best for most players. But we move up to the S plus tier. Jimmy Fox is my GOAT in my opinion, but all those guys in the S plus tier are going to be just as valid in my personal opinion. Don't sleep on Taylor Ward, by the way. I think he's actually very sick. And as you see at second base, it's a lot more slim of a position, not as much depth. So really here, this is a very top heavy tier list. You'll maybe have some players in the A tier that you personally enjoy to use. But again, there are a fair amount of options in that S tier who bring well-rounded hitting, some speed, good enough defense, maybe something like switch hitting like Jorge Polanco. I think Trevor Story is my personal go-to if I was making a God squad. But it really just comes down to what you want out of second. Switch hitting, speed, well-rounded attributes, power. It comes down to how you build your team. And for me, Trevor Story brings well-rounded attributes, and at speed and defense is going to be very valuable at second base. Now we move over to shortstop, and it's also pretty slim like second base is. Again, plenty of options you may even like in the F tier as your starting shortstop, but I truly think for most people, they will find someone in that A tier and above to use. As you see on this list, I think Jimmy Rollins is my best shortstop. He's played absolutely incredible, but Story's great. Xander Bogaerts has been very good for me. I think all of those guys in the S tier are very valid. You know what? I'm going to move Trey Turner above Bo Bichette in terms of a shortstop, but I think they all have the potential of being very good depending on how you like their swing or what you want out of shortstop. Jeremy Pena has the attributes to be here, but people have told me that they haven't loved this swing. It's definitely noteworthy, but I do have to test him a bit myself before I make a full judgment, so he at least deserves S+ right now. First base is a very stacked tier list. A lot of very good hitters. I'm going to prefer power. I'm not going to punish defense much because it's the most forgiving defensive position. But you'll really see a lot of your best options in the S and S+ tier because there are so many of them. So in my opinion, Babe Ruth is my best first baseman. But guys like Miggy, Jimmy Fox are great. Or Pete Alonso, who I genuinely think is underrated, right next to Hunter Renfroe and Freddie Freeman for those finest type players. Also, show some more love to my guy Paul Goldschmidt. The max splits versus lefties and the lots of quirks that he gets. It's going to make him a top tier option in my opinion. We do have to talk about a new first base option, and it is Cody Bellinger. Without a doubt, the base attributes are going to be a top option. The thing that's going to make Bellinger more appealing, obviously the 105 contact versus left is a slight detriment to him in comparison to the maxed out splits like Babe Ruth, but being able to crush righties, still be very solid versus lefties, bring diamond fielding to first base, which is an extra bonus, paired with 80 speed, which a lot of other first basemen aren't bringing, he is a top few first base option in my opinion. Probably the best position for him since the outfield is so deep. He doesn't get any quirks on this card, but he's still going to be a very fun option, and a lot of people like Belly's swing. So I'm going to move him to the S+ tier for sure. I think I'm going to put him right next to like Hunter Renfroe, Pete Alonso, because he is going to be a very good power hitting first baseman. But I think he's going to make up with a little bit better defense than those guys, mainly Alonso at first, but also bring a little bit more speed, which first base doesn't have too much of. So he is certainly a top tier first base option. Sliding over to the other corner infield, we're at third base now. So many different options, like you have shortstops and secondaries. Really, this comes down to what you want. I think third base is a good power position, almost like first base, but I do prefer defense a little bit more. So for me, I think someone like Miguel Cabrera is the perfect third baseman. Base attributes, he'll be a fine defender, but you even just parallel him one, get him the gold defense. That's going to be a big defensive jump. With the maxed out attributes, so worth it. Fox and Sheffield are also going to be good, but I also think Machado, Arenado, and J-Ram are going to be very good third base options. We're bringing good hitting with good defense at third, so I like them a lot. But again, you'll likely find someone in that S and S plus tier to be your go-to third baseman. A lot of the finest guys are going to be very, very good options there. But it just depends. Do you want power? Do you want speed? Do you want the mix of everything? I think all those guys are going to bring good benefit and kind of play pretty even based on what you want out of third. We move to the outfield, a very contentious position right now because choosing three with how stacked this position is so tough. So you always want to choose a mix of three you do best with, of course. At this current endgame, though, I think there is a lot more incentive towards good speed, defense, contact, and power. A lot of 5-tool players in the game right now, so it's very easy to choose three outfielders that bring all of that. And honestly, those players with the good defense and speed could end up having better hitting than a lot of other hitting first options. So as you see, some of the guys in the lower tier could be good, but they do have slight flaws in comparison to our endgame best content. And as you work your way up, a lot of viable cards in the outfield, but once you get to the S and S plus tier, it's so tough right now to choose three from all of the cards that we have dropped. So for me, I think Trout is the best, Griffey 2, Reynolds number 3. Harper is definitely up there in S plus with his top tier hitting, nearly 125 on everything. Paired with gold fielding, bunch of live series active quirks, and solid speed, I think he's the best pure corner outfield option. But there are a lot of good ones. You really don't have many wrong answers here. But I do want to note, I'm judging based on the well-rounded hitting, speed, and defense. That's why Yordan, for example, is only S. We do have to add some players here, though. Obviously, Cody Bellinger needs to be added to this list. Milestone, JD Martinez, we got in the Milestone program, who is definitely a good corner outfield option. But, you know, the silver fielding and slower speed is going to reduce his viability a little bit. And, of course, the man himself, Mickey Mantle, your Legend and Flashback Collection Award. I mean, diamond fielding, 99 speed, maxed out hitting. On paper is the best pure hitter we've gotten out of Diamond Dynasty, in my opinion. However, based on how you may or may not like his swing, he might play better or worse than some of the other top tier outfield options. JD Martinez, I put him C because I think that's probably his best position because I think Schwarber is a class above with all of the active quirks he gets. We're going to move Cody Bellinger certainly to the S plus tier with diamond fielding and good speed in the outfield. He's definitely one of your best outfield options. I'd say I'll put him right next to Hunter Renfroe. And then Mickey Mantle is definitely one of your top outfielders in the game. How high does he go, though? It's tough. It's so tough for me. I'm going to put him number 2. And the only reason I'm going to put him number 2 because I find that so many people love Mike Trout's swing. I think he is the personal best outfielder for most. But that's going to change based on some players. They might prefer Reynolds. All these guys I think are top tier and must use in your outfield if you like them. However, based on how you like a swing, you may like some other more than others. I might like Mantle more than Trout based on the pure attributes. But Trout, I think, evens himself out with getting a bunch of live series active quirks in terms of a pure center fielder, and their defense can be pretty similar between the two. I think Trout could play better with how many people like his swing. That might be a hot take, but honestly, he's definitely one of the best cards in the game, arguably the best card in the game. So I think this is how the tier list goes. Now, in terms of starting pitching, this one's a little tough because there's a mix of pitch mix and attributes that you need. Obviously, you need to have a pitch mix that is easier to pitch with to be higher ranking. However, you also need enough attributes to combat all of the top hitters. So there are some guys that are weaker on the pitch mix, or maybe weaker on the attributes. While they can be effective, they don't have the attributes to face enough of the players right now. So Bobby Miller at base parallel is a good starter, but having just around 100 hits per nine is probably a little too low for right now, even though he's going to have effective stuff. As you work your way up in the tier list, I think these guys bring enough benefit with the attributes in pitch mix. Yes, I do have Shohei Ohtani in the A tier because I did not find him to be really any sort of effective pitcher against good hitters. But the thing he's going to bring value in is being able to hit and try to make up for that. But I don't know, man. I don't think I can put him S or S plus based on how he played for me. But as you see in the S and S plus, mainly the S plus I think are the best of both worlds of great pitch mix and stacked attributes. While I think the guys in the S maybe don't have the same velocity or the same overall effective pitch mix as the S plus, or they're more so control type pitchers, or they're missing just one pitch like Nolan Ryan and Randy Johnson, who are still effective, but I don't think they're going to be as lights out for many people as some of those guys in the S plus tier like Jacob deGrom. It's pretty controversial, in my opinion, to make a just argument for how good these pitchers will be, but I just think sinker cutter, having an outlier fastball with the level of deGrom's attributes with that slider, it's so tough to call who's the best. But my heart tells me deGrom's the best in the game. We do have some new milestone pitchers. Bob Feller could definitely be very good. Thing is, 78 walks per 9 is a little bit rough, but 120 hits per 9, great. 116 Ks per 9, very good. Outlier four seam, pretty good. At least he has a sinker to pair with it. And then Clayton Kershaw, no hitter card for him this time around. Kershaw is always one of the better pitchers, and his slider is actually a little bit of a harder one. He doesn't have the outlier, but I think he does provide a good change of speed, especially with that really slow curveball. So for these pitchers that we got, I'm going to put Feller right next to like the Randy Johnson type. Got the velocity to do swings and misses and could be effective if you are playing the velocity game. But for good hitters that can hit velocity, I don't think he's going to be lights out as someone like Jacob deGrom. So in my opinion, he's a good starter. This might not be the best in the game type material. Clayton Kershaw, I also don't think is going to be S plus because, again, he isn't a super velocity type pitcher. But I'm going to put him in the front of the S because I do find a lot of people like Clayton Kershaw cards. He has great attributes on this variation of him. And his slider in 12-6, in my opinion, will play very well. So he could definitely be a very good one, but I don't think I could put him S plus. And finally, we move to the bullpen. As you see, there's still some really early game options you could potentially use in the bullpen, but I do think you need a level of attributes for the end game here. Tops now, Yohan Duran just isn't going to cut it with his level of hits per 9, especially on Hall of Fame difficulty. Maxed out attributes, their PCI is going to be the size of the strike zone, so you'll give up more hits no matter what. I think most people will have their bullpens in the A, S, and S plus tiers, maybe sprinkled with someone in the B tier, but I do think in many cases, Mariano, in my opinion, is the GOAT, and Felix Bautista is also very good with his outlier four seam and cutter, a lot like a Rob Dibble type pitcher. It actually has a couple more pitches than Dibble and slightly better attributes, so I actually like him a lot. Speaking of Rob Dibble, he is a collection award in the Legend and Flashback collection for getting halfway through Mickey Mantle, basically 10 vouchers, and I will say he's a good card. Rob Dibble usually plays well. His longer motion kind of lulls people to sleep, and the way the ball flies out of the hand, almost like a Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson type thing where the ball comes in really quick. And he's got great change of speed. 99 outlier on the four seam, slower cutter in the low 90s, and then an 84 mile per hour slider. So good change of speed. However, in my opinion, I don't know if he's going to be the best reliever in the game. He's going to be a very good one, but I think there are other relievers with more well-rounded control and more well-rounded overall attributes than what Dibble's bringing. 79 walks per 9 means his par is going to be pretty big. So I think he's a purely velocity type pitcher. So I will put him in the S tier. Very comparable to like the Edwin Diaz, Yohan Duran type reliever that are very velocity focused. Good hitters will hit them very likely. However, Rob Dibble could end up being very good. I like him a lot. And last but definitely not least, I want to talk about how I'm constructing my God Squads. I'm not running one God Squad. With all of the very good content that we have, I have my team split up into 4 different types of teams. First team I have is a 2022 Finest team. All the 2022 Finest cards I think are the best, or at least the ones to construct a very solid lineup. And I also have the rotation and bullpen set up over here as well, including some of the other relievers from that Finest drop. Then I have the Flashback team, which has anyone that's not on the 2022 Finest team in the starting lineup on. And as you see, I've got a good mix of cards, even when you discount the 2022 Finest cards like Jordan, Harper, Judge, like a very fun outfield. And the pitching staff is still pretty solid. I've been horrific with Ohtani. Feel like his pitch mix and stuff is very floaty, but I do want to keep on using him. Then I have the all legend team, which is all just the legend players. And as you see with this team, a very stacked retro finest type team. and Mickey Mantle fits in his lineup really well. And this is what that pitching staff looks like. And then this is just a mix of extra cards I want to use a little bit more than I have. No real restrictions on this team, just some extra players that aren't starting on my other teams I would love to get some reps with in ranked. So a point that I want to make is you can have a God Squad even if you're just using a specific type of card or a specific amount of series of players. So make a team of players you have the most fun with. Don't be afraid to try new cards. However you want to play the game is really what's most valuable at this point. And don't get too nitpicky and stressed over starting lineups because it's really not worth it, especially if you aren't having as much fun with the game. So yeah, those are my tier lists for the end game content MLB 22. If you enjoyed this series, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Feel free to check out the other videos I made in this series covering cards in more specifics. I will be making more videos in this series ranking cards like top 10 and all that. If you do want image versions of these, I'm going to drop the images of these tier lists in my Discord for channel members and Twitch subscribers. So if you want just a more image version of these tier lists so you can keep track of things, join and hit that channel member button down below, and also join in on my Discord to get access to that channel. You all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all again on next one. Deuces.